change you and make you want me.
What's up, guys? It's your boy, Avery Jackalope, Robert R. Ricks. What's up, Medicus? Good to see you. Good to see you. So let's get everything coming close. Make sure mic is good. What is the question mark, Medicus? I see a big old question mark there. You a quest giver? So, why is the world topsy-turvy, upside down, backwards, retarded, stupid, and all the other descriptors we could throw on it? There's a lot of reasons for it. And I've been touching on mass brainwashing for a while now. And, you know, we all have people in our lives that, regardless of whatever we try to explain to them, regardless of whatever facts we throw at them, it just seems to bounce off their head, and they just steadfast in their stance and everything else that you're the retard, you're the moron, blah blah blah. And you can almost flip this image to the other side, because sometimes they may in their own ways throw truths in your direction, and you may in turn flip that around. Hey, what's up, Bronx? What's up, Garen? Now I'm just doing a explanation on why the world is so topsy-turvy, insane in the membrane, and just all around backwards. So we see a lot of younger people, and even maybe some older folks that we know, that seem to be walking around lost. No direction, no focus, and we just kind of look at them and go, what the hell? I mean, we remember all of the things we were brought up, taught. You know, if you don't have anything nice, don't say it to yourself. And I said, I think, last video, and I kind of stand by it, the internet done broke the world. And if you really stop and think about it, it was a combination of technology, communication technology specifically. There's a book I read a while back called Tribes by an author named Seth Godin, or Godin, however you pronounce his last name. There it is right there, Tribes. And in that book, he basically describes a tribe as a group of people connected to one another, connected to a leader, and connected to an idea. And his whole book is basically just kind of how to cultivate a group of people to buy products, things of that nature, etc., etc. What's up, Simicon? And it was a good book. I read it, and it taught me a lot of very interesting points. And one of these things is a group only needs two things to be a tribe: a shared interest and a way to communicate. So just kind of let that marinate in the back of your mind a little bit. A group only needs two things to be a tribe: a shared interest and a way to communicate. So that's vitally important, because as we've talked about a couple of times on this channel, they have been using various forms of entertainment, communications, etc. to brainwash us to think and act certain ways. Last video, I challenged you guys, the old folks, to go really take a good hard look at yourself and see that if there was some change in your thinking, your mindset, and everything within the last 5 years. Just kind of see if somehow you became more radicalized in certain ways, and you started to do the naming of other groups of people, and then start tearing them down. So one thing that always kind of baffles me is when I talk to young people and I ask them about core concepts like honor, integrity, virtue, things of that nature. And a lot of times, especially when I say honor, they kind of give me this look. which is kind of befuddled, confused, you know, not understanding. So they understand the core concepts of things like honor. And it kind of blows my mind, right? Because in all walks of life, which I'm going to illustrate to you, in all walks of life, there are various codes of conduct that have been instilled in humanity for a very, very, very long time. Wait, there was one more slide I was going to add. I'll add that in the end. Okay, so as proof in the pudding, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the Ten Commandments, which most people with basic religious backgrounds should be somewhat aware of this. And there are some overlaps inside of these different groups that we'll talk about. So Ten Commandments, you shall have no other gods before me is number one. You shall not make yourself an idol. You should not misuse the name of the Lord your God. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. And then, the first four are pieces that, if you're religious, you take serious. If you don't, that's on your own accord. But I want you to pay attention to the next few here. Number 5, honor your father and your mother. 6, you shall not murder, or thou shalt not kill. 7, you shall not commit adultery. That's like cheating. Even thinking about banging your best friend's wife would fall under that. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. Basically, number 9 is like you're not supposed to lie. And you shall not covet. Okay, covet is like, ooh, I really want that, So it's like wanting something that somebody else may have or something. So you covet something. All right. So anyway, people go really, really, really deep in that. So let's go polar opposite of the Christian belief, and let's take a look at what the Satanists got to say, right? So they have what's called the 11 Satanic Rules of the Earth. Now, I'm not endorsing any one of these groups, but if you are Christian and you have not looked at the opposite side, then you're missing one of the core tenets of combat and warfare. Know your enemy. So anyway, let's take a look at this. 11 Satanic Rules of the Earth. Do not give opinions or advice unless you are asked. Hey, that doesn't sound bad. Okay. Do not tell your troubles to others unless you are sure they want to hear them. Okay, well, yeah, that doesn't sound horrible either. When in another's home, show them respect or else do not go there. Wow, show respect while you're in somebody else's house? That's shit. That's pretty good too. All right. Wow, is this really satanic? What's going on here? Anyway, if a guest in your home annoys you, treat them cruelly and without mercy. All right, there we go. Now we're getting evil. We're getting satanic here. If they fuck up in your house, they fuck your couch, you can kill them. Beat them with a fucking, spiked bat or something. Anyway. Do not make sexual advances unless you are given the mating signal. Well, that's kind of ambiguous, right? But you could bend that one. Okay, but do not make sexual advances unless you are given the okie dokie. Okay, you could say that, but what construed as the mating signal? Anyway, she looked at me seductively. Anyway, do not take that which does not belong to you unless it is a burden to the other person and they cry out to be relieved. That's another one of those ambiguous ones that's really funny, but anyway. Acknowledge the power of magic if you have employed it successfully to obtain your desires. If you deny the power of magic after having called upon it with success, you will lose all that you have obtained. Wow, so they embrace the core concept of magic, real, and you can leverage it to get what you want, but you got to give it its dues. Okay, that's interesting. Do not complain about anything to which you need not subject yourself. Okay, another one that you got to get some interpretation on. Now look at this one. Do not harm young children. Wait a minute. Now, aren't the satanic the ones running around like harvesting children and doing all this evil shit and blah, blah, blah? Well, if so, then aren't they breaking one of their core tenets here? That's kind of fun. That's kind of interesting. But anyway, number 10, do not kill non-human animals unless you are attacked or for your food. All right, so, don't just beat on animals or do anything evil or whatever unless they attack you or for your food. So I guess all those goats they use for sacrificing or, whatever animals they use, they're going to eat it after, or maybe they were attacked beforehand. When walking in open territory, bother no one. If someone bothers you, ask them to stop. If they do not stop, destroy them. Well, don't start no shit, won't be no shit. And it's funny because on the Christian side, there's 10 commandments, and then on the Satanic, they've got 11. So they had to do one up, right? So anyway, now there's going to be some folks that are going to be like, well, Rob, that's satanic. I don't actually worship Satan. I worship Lucifer. Well, all right, let's take a look here. Let's take a look here at some of this other stuff that they've got going on here. Oh, thank you, son. They've got these fundamental tenets, and I can't remember. So this is like the new. Sorry, I didn't get to Lucifer. This is a continuation of the Satanic whatever. So I guess Satanic. There's a new Satanic temple now. So anyway, they got 7 fundamental tenets. So I figured this would be probably good too. 1 should strive to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason. Okay, well that one you can't really misconstrue. That one's actually pretty nice. Go towards all creatures from an empathetic point of view. Hey, that's not bad. The struggle for justice is ongoing and necessary. No, I'm not satanic. I'm going through objectively looking at everybody's stuff and talking about it. So, I mean, if you guys want to blanket say, I believe in the Heavenly Father and I actually believe in Jesus Christ, that's my thing. But I believe in equal respect and looking at all the peers and other humans around me and seeing what they believe or what their positioning is. You have to know your enemy if you are to engage with your enemy. And there are a lot of people that are saying, that a lot of the deep state, blah, 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 are all satanic worshiping and blah, blah, blah. Well, what does that mean? Well, you have to look at the basic fundamental systems to see what they believe so you can understand the person you're, vilifying or even looking at, right? I think that's only fair to say, okay, like, I believe in the gift of Jesus Christ. I believe he died on the cross for us. He gave us a fighting chance. But that free will that God has given us also allows people to look at this stuff. Now, we want to kind of look and see, well, how did they get people on either side of the aisle? Like, how did they get people to go over there? Well, go to the dark side. We've got cookies. So that's what's missing. Jesus Christ doesn't have cookies. Son of a bitch. That was it. All we had to have was cookies, and we would have had more people. Anyway. Continue on. 7 fundamental tenets. The struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions. Okay, now that's interesting. They're saying the struggle for justice. Now there's one of my key words that I respect. Justice, ongoing and necessary. Okay, I believe justice should be an ongoing and necessary pursuit. Should prevail over laws and institutions. I don't disagree with that. I think there are a lot of laws and institutions that are leveraged and used against us that are anti-justice. So that's kind of interesting. Anyway, one's body is inviolable. So I guess that means like you're not supposed to violate it. Subject to one's own will alone. Okay, so they're saying the body belongs to you and nobody else's. All right, well that's fine. I can see how that could be a cookie side of things, right? The freedom of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend, to willfully and justly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forego your own. So I guess that's one, like, if you're going to start some shit, you better be willing to take it. And that's kind of interesting. You can tell how this is a little bit later on. This is something that, these are new. These are like refinements on their side, right? Beliefs should conform to our best scientific understanding of the world. See, there's a slippery slope right there. Okay, beliefs should conform to our best scientific understandings of the world. So this is how they bait in atheists, are people that are very scientific, right? So you've got a scientific hook there. We should take care never to distort scientific facts to fit our beliefs. Well, what if, the beliefs of the scientific actually creates what you need? Anyway, people are fallible. If we make a mistake, we should do our best to rectify it and resolve any harm that may have been caused. That's actually pretty good. I respect that, right? Oh, I'm going through all the different tenets and stuff. So Reaper, if you came in late, don't worry. I'm not a satanic person. I'm just looking at what they believe so that I better understand what is quote unquote Luciferian, right? Because people will say that person's satanic or that person's Luciferian, but yet still these are supposedly pillars of a society. Well, how is that possible? So you need to understand people if you're going to be going against them, right? Yep, yep. So let's see. Every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word. See, that's interesting. That is interesting. So those are like what the Satanics believe, right? Now, what I was getting to earlier, yeah, you need to know these things, right? So then there's Luciferian documentation. Now, this is what's interesting. So you saw the Satanic stuff, right? So Satanic stuff is all about how you should be acting. These are the things that you should be doing as a person, right? Now, from the Luciferian side, they go more abstract, and they're not necessarily telling you. They're more describing the deities or the things that they are worshiping, right? So Lucifer represents wisdom found through self-exploration. So they're telling you if you want to be like Lucifer, it's through self-exploration. Lucifer represents rejection of accepted truths instead to explore possibilities. So this is really leaning towards a rebellious mindset, right? And very smart on how all of these things are structured. And we'll get to why these things are so powerful, right? Lucifer symbolizes rebellion with a purpose, knowledge, wisdom, and power. So again, here are some of these keywords that are resonating, right? Knowledge, wisdom, and power. Lucifer represents utilizing fantasy and symbolism to open the gates of hell. The underworld is a world of power. They're not saying it's great. They're not saying it's awesome. They're basically saying, Lucifer represents utilizing fantasy and symbolism to open the gates of hell. The underworld is a world of power. Now, power is neutral, not good or bad, but it's not saying you open it up and suddenly everybody fucking dies. Okay, well, they didn't say that here, right? You're not telling me that. But anyway, Lucifer represents balance, spirituality, and physicality. The light and darkness are equally important to the mental and physical health of the individual. Again, that's very interesting. There's some intellectual concepts that I have engaged in with other people where I have said evil has a purpose, because if there was a world devoid of evil, how could you actually measure good? So that statement right there hits the intellectual people that say, well, you can't have good without the bad, and the bad's got cookies, right? So Lucifer represents self deification. So it's like, okay, you are a god, right, with earned compassion and the value of loved ones. Now it switches to Lilith, the feminine side of things, right? So Lilith represents the wisdom and institutional power of both woman and man, that the feminine is the motivator of all life. Lilith represents independence, freedom of spirit. Lilith represents sexual liberation, blah, blah, blah. You want to have sex with respect to the law. Lilith represents the thirst for continued existence in time, immortality of spirit beyond the flesh. So, hey, this flesh is short. You're going to have, everlasting life, very similar to what you get inside the Bible. Lilith represents darkness surrounding the light of godhood, the bearing flame of her mate, Samael. So, no, I don't actually have Cthulhu in here, but I have other stuff. So, again, I was 11. So, you had 10 commandments, then you had 11 on the Satanic and 11 on Luciferian, always trying to one up, right? Now, those are all code that are biblical or somewhat biblical in nature, but man has created code for themselves to guide us in different ways. So code of Bushido is something that I stumbled on really early in my life when I learned that I was half Japanese. Of course, I did all of the self searching to see what that entailed or whatever else, and that is where I first came upon the words of honor. Right, so here we have honor, respect, integrity, heroic courage, honesty and sincerity, duty and loyalty, and compassion. And I'm not going to read through all of these because I have quite a bit to go through. But out of everything, this one really truly resonates hard inside of me, because a lot of this is kind of a guide on how you should be so that you don't fuck shit up, right? And it's really kind of funny. As we go through these, you'll start to see influence and manipulation. So, with the commandments, of course, the first one, no gods before me. You should not make, false idols. Should not take the Lord's name in vain. Blah blah blah. So those are things that are a controller, right? Controller tenets that tell us that we need to do these things. That it's important, right? Satanic, they kind of go the opposite. It's all about the self. They're like, you don't necessarily answer to God, you answer to yourself. Bushido is all about man's point of view on trying to live a virtuous life and have some code and honor. We saw that also with knights. So knight code. So knights, they're, obviously like Templars, whatever, there was religious connotation that was in there. So, right, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. They put that on top. Then they put man, obey those in authority over you, right? Then we go more abstract, stand against injustice and evil. Defend the weak, protect them, respect the honor of women, refrain from wanton giving of offense, speak the truth at all times, be generous and willing to share, persevere, finish the task at hand, pursue excellence in all you do. Okay, so we see some good things in there, right? We see quite a few good things that we see lacking in society today. There was another famous Japanese Miyamoto Musashi. This was a person who came up with a set of 21 things to be able to be successfully at peace as, like, a warrior that walks alone, the way of walking alone. And what's interesting is I don't like a lot of these, but there are some overlaps that I do like, right? And some of these are, basically, as I read through these, I was like, dude, you're turning yourself into a fucking robot, right? So like 10, for example, is interesting. Do not let yourself be guided by feelings of lust or love. That's difficult for humans. Love is very difficult. And I know he's talking about, don't get caught up by a woman, right? But that is one of the core things that is really, really, really prevalent in a lot of these, right? So respect the honor of women is number 5, right? Bushido doesn't touch on that very much. Luciferian touches on it with Lilith a little bit. Satanic, they did have some stuff about sex, and there it is, number 5. Do not make sexual advances unless you are given the mating signal. So we know that quite a few of those, even in the commandments, right? Thou shalt not commit adultery, and there's also thou shalt not covet. So 10 and 7 could also have stuff that are sexual in nature, right? So he was definitely keen at walking alone, walking alone. Like, do not be saddened by separations. Bye, bitch. I'm out. Never be jealous. See, these were some difficult ones, right? So now let's go ahead and go to some other philosophy type stuff. So like Buddha, some people will say it's religion, some people say it's philosophy, but it doesn't matter because it's a set of tenets which a group of humans live their life, right? Make peace with your past so it doesn't fuck up the present. Whatever think of you is none of your business. Time heals almost everything. Give it time. Don't compare your life to others. Don't judge them. You have no idea what their journey is. Stop thinking too much. It's all right not to know the answers. They will come to you when you least expect it. No one is in charge of your happiness except you. Smile. You don't own all the problems in the world, right? Yeah. People think I'm a Satanist. It's fun, but again, coming back to Bushido, these really just cover tenets, right? Honor, respect, integrity, heroic courage, honesty and sincerity, right? Duty and loyalty and compassion. Like, you don't get any cleaner. You really don't get any cleaner than Bushido, right? As a philosophy, just as a code, right? Even overlapping some of these simplistic ones with the Night Code, right? Be generous, willing to share, right? Speak the truth at all times. So truth, right? I think uniformly across all of these, like lies are not a good thing. I think they understood that. They understood that, Let's see, did Homeboy have anything about lies in here? Do not regret what you have done. Accept everything the way it is. Do not seek pleasure for its own sake. Do not, under any circumstance, depend on a partial feeling. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. Be detached from desire your whole life. Do not regret what you have done. Never be jealous. Never let yourself be saddened by separation. Sorry about that. In all things, have no preferences. Be indifferent when you live. Do not pursue the taste of good food. See, that's a hard one right there for me because I love me some good ass food. Do not hold on possessions you no longer need. Do not follow customary beliefs. Do not collect weapons or practice weapons beyond what is useful. Do not fear death. Do not seek possession, either goods or fiefs in your old age. Respect Buddha and the gods without counting on their help. Oh, that's a good one, actually. Respect the gods without counting on their help. I like that. That shit is fucking hilarious, right? You may abandon your own body, but you must preserve your honor. Never stray from the way. Hey, there we go. Some Star Wars stuff. It is the way. So he didn't talk about lies, but he did say respect Buddha. And, Buddhism, they actually have something about lies. Number 4, abstain from false speech. Number 5, I don't know how I could do number 5. Abstain from taking alcohol and harmful drugs. Like, I drink like a fish when the time is right. But again, we see a respect for life and not killing. So here's Buddhism, the 5 precepts: abstain from killing, abstain from stealing, abstain from improper sexual conduct. You see how there's overlaps in some of these things here, right? Abstain from false speech and abstain from taking alcohol and harmful drugs. So we're seeing time and time again a lot of different groups, even groups surprisingly that would be opposed, that we would look at as opposing from our thinking or our ideological viewpoints, hold certain things detestable, at least in their, printed guidelines, okay? So it's kind of interesting when you look at that and you go, what the fuck, right? So, what the fuck is going on with the world then? We have this stuff around us. We've had it forever and a day. So why the fuck are we fucking up now? What is the problem? Well, I've been telling you guys for a while that there have been lots of different brainwashing techniques that they have been leveraging against us constantly bombarding us. And as I sat and meditated wondering about why things are the way they are, I was like, I was reading a post from, I know some of you don't like him. I really don't care. Sometimes the truth comes from weird places, but Prepared Mind 101 is a guy who spends a lot of time in his head, a lot of time looking at the world, a lot of time with observations and stuff. And I don't disagree with some of the stuff that he talks about. So we know people, either side, if you're in the right or the left paradigm, you know people that these represent, right? So I know Trump's a psychotic and I don't care. Biden, senile, seems lucid to me, right? So that word cognitive dissonance, right? We hear that from time to time and we're kind of like, what the fuck does that mean? So as I was sitting there, Prepared Mind 101 had this very simplistic diagram, which I agreed with his assessment. This is really kind of what's going on. If you took all the technology out, you took all the TVs and all the other bullshit out, right? And we just had our tribes, our little individual tribes, our local tribes where everybody were just hanging out locally, just surviving, doing our thing, whatever, we would see the world for what it truly is. But through the filter of all of these different control mechanisms that we spend an inordinate amount of time consuming, then suddenly the world gets really muddied and difficult to discern and actually see what's real and what's not real. All right, so he put this phone in there that says, think and feel this way, this is what's real, and then suddenly we can't see things for what they were. When I saw that, I reached out to him. I actually messaged him and was like, bro, would you mind if I, borrow your shit and reference it and put it inside of some of the research stuff that I'm doing so that other people can also benefit from it? He's like, I don't give a fuck, go for it, And I said, do you mind if I mention your name or do you want to be left out of it? Again, he said, I really don't care. So I was like, sweet. I give credit where credit's due. I didn't come up with that diagram or anything else. I saw it on Facebook. I processed it and was like, son bitch, I dig that. And he also had this, which is really kind of interesting. And I figured we'd kind of go through this, right? So on the left, this is what news headlines look like. Donald Trump signs bill to build border wall. Factual, very straightforward. Nothing to misinterpret there. We know who, Donald Trump. We know what he did. He signed a bill to build a border wall. That's it. That's news. Then he presents in red, this is what propaganda looks like. Trump implements racist, xenophobic border wall plan to impose his white supremacist views because he hates you. Now, of course, he's taken some liberty to get really, really in your face on it. Sometimes not quite that amount, right? But they do a lot of clickbait type headlines like this that people go, oh. Now, he's brilliant. He's brilliant on the next section there because this is straight from MK Ultra and other, mind control and experiments that they've done. Repetition of certain things over and over and over create the reality. Okay? So, repetition is what embeds information into the subconscious mind, which determines your subjective reality. He has that repeated 3 times to emphasize the point. Right? So it's repeated 3 times. He's pretty smart. He's a smart guy. Nearly 99.99% of the news you ingest is trying to tell you what a person or group's thoughts, feelings, and motives are. So they're defining, a lot of news is doing what? Defining tribes. They're defining the cultural thoughts that you are going to either be part of or you're not part of. So if you're part of that tribe, it's going to resonate with you. If you're not part of a tribe, you're going to be, it's going to be disgusting to you. It's gonna repel you. You're gonna go against it, right? So in red, he says, you see it repeated and repeated. It becomes quote unquote real to you. You never question that you never saw this unknowable thing yourself, but it becomes real to you because you do not filter what you allow into your subconscious. Your subconscious sees things all the time. Hence the reason all of these patents for subliminal programming that have 30 plus in the US dating back to the early 60s, with the last patent being done, I think 2017, all about subliminally programming the brain via the subconscious while you're sleeping, and also inside of television shows, etc., marketing. You get the idea. Once that sinks into your brain, your mind will automatically decode anyone or anything by the labels media have established. This is how being intellectually lazy and conditioned for comfort makes people controllable. Okay, so that was a whole mouthful, but he went through and broke it all down. He actually was trying to explain, but I guarantee you, on Facebook, he might have had, I don't know, maybe the max 4,000, 10,000, whatever the number is, of people that probably said, "Oh, look, he's going woo woo," and they disconnected. Right? There's reasons for that. There's reasons for that. Remember, the very first thing that I showed you guys was this. Okay? So he was doing a post that was fact, and then a bulk of the readers, oh, hell no. And they just gave him obligatory like, moved on. Okay? So, exactly. Prepared minds how a lot of you guys found me. So there's a little synchronicity there. There's, some back and forth and some stuff. I really do like a lot of his stuff. Let's see. So I was on control. Okay, so here we go. So here we see a picture where there's a guy with unpleasant truths, and nobody want to hear that shit. Nobody's lining up for that shit. Everybody wants the comforting lies. Oh, just spin it for me a little bit. Just spin it. Make it better for me, right? And then, so, here's the thing that we come in contact with. Now, remember now, entertainment educates us constantly and tells us certain things, but we don't have a lot of common sense discernment to actually be able to see things for what they really are. So here we have Morpheus saying, what is real? How do you define real? You're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see. Then real is simply electronical signals interpreted by your brain. Well, what we're looking at right here with the mediums like the internet, our cell phones, TV, etc., those are also being processed by our brain and subconscious, and there's a lot of stuff. I was watching some shows last night, and I was like, holy shit, there's just everywhere you look now, there's this constant programming that just goes and goes and goes and goes. And I'm just sitting there like, holy shit, buck. All right, so again, going back to stuff like, Dalai Lama, right? Instructions for life. We have the guideline for humanity to be good, for humanity to live a prosperous, amazing fucking life. But we are constantly put into these states of fear and controlled via all of these different things that makes it hard for us to acknowledge all the wonderful things we have around us. A good friend of mine, I was chatting with him earlier today, and I told him, man, I woke up this morning, I had fucking hella headaches, my fucking foot was hurting, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, fucking hella way to start the day. And I said, yep, but I still got up, still made the bed, and anybody who wants to hear, I'll tell how blessed I am to be alive and, filled with miracles and everything else. So the world we have around us has the appearance of a lot of negativity, a lot of fearful things, a lot of scary stuff. But understand that the powers that be, the ones that are inflicting us with these things, they have to have a somewhat open mind for us to be programmable. That's why if you notice on the slide right here, was it this one? This is how being intellectually lazy, okay, let that sink in for a second, and conditioned for comfort makes people controllable. So, if you are mentally disciplined, mentally strong, and you work on yourself every single day, it makes it infinitely more difficult for them to do things via the subconscious, right? Things via the subconscious over and over and over become a reality to us. But if we're constantly checking ourselves, we're like, no, I don't really believe that. No, I don't feel that way. I don't feel that way towards Muslims, or I don't feel that way towards brown people, or I don't feel that way towards whatever. It makes it harder for them to program you. You get what I'm saying? That's the whole reason here is, you have to work your brain out. You have to have your mind constantly engaged. So one of the things that was really cool, I'm not going to go and read through everything that Prepared Mind put, but he did have some very interesting things on one of these that I just wanted to share with you guys because I thought, holy shit, that would be fun. And it was, let's see, all right, so quote unquote, all of this is merely the tip of the iceberg. It's not going to change because hardly anyone sees the big picture. Every time you think you do, you later find out that the picture is still zoomed in. I'll stop there because it just keeps going and going and going. It's an endless rabbit hole of the universe, but I'll leave you with this. Nobody here, myself included, is anywhere near as informed as they believe they are. Look around you. What you see with your eyes is only the thing you can bank on as being real or true. Stop scrolling Facebook, playing Xbox, and pick up a book. Meditate. Do something different. When you identify your habits and patterns, and then consciously do things that break that pattern, you will find an interesting phenomenon where reality gets more shifty. If you do something the same way every day, make an effort to do at least one thing per day different. Drive home a completely different way. Walk into stores you've never set foot in. Move your furniture around. Shift things a foot off in directions. Do anything that you wouldn't normally do, even if it's small. Do fasts from information and electronics. Keep doing it and see what happens to your mind when you disrupt the pattern it is used to. He said, I won't spoil it. Lastly, if something makes you unhappy or anxious, stop doing it. So, those are all golden nuggets there, but I think it's interesting. And I found myself doing it too. And I think what he might be alluding to, I haven't had a chance to really powwow with him, but what I think he's alluding to is there's a dissociative state that we get into when we go through we do things in repetition. You find yourself on autopilot. When you're on autopilot, you're in a dissociative state. You've done things so many times that you're not consciously there. You're not thinking about it. You're just kind of doing the motion. What a risk with doing the motion is you're putting your mind in a receptive state, which then makes it easier for things to be men. So what might be funny is all those jokey jokes that they've thrown at us through the years about people wearing tinfoil hats. Maybe there's something actually beneficial to tinfoil fucking hats, because Lord knows they make that joke really, 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 really stick, right? But in any event, I know as far as myself, I have taken what Chris has said there and changed up some things that I do on a repetition basis. So maybe instead of me walking a path a certain way, I go a different way. And that's not bad either, because for those of us that are in a paranoid state and, we want to be, really, really, really prepared, having a routine is a bad thing, right? Because now they like every day he walks the dog at 2 o'clock, every day he does this. It makes it very easy for somebody to spot your pattern and get you. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting, because all of these things kind of just fell into place, like one thing after another, after another, after another. And again, I couldn't help but think about this right here: eyes to see, ears to hear, and hearts to understand. And that's not the only thing inside of the Bible that talks about eyes to see, ears to hear, etc. There's several different things inside the Bible talking about that, right? And I think really, if you strip all that shit down, it's like you need to do I have that picture in here? I don't have that picture, do I? There's 2 pictures I also want to share. You need to be able to see things in the real world, process them, make your own decision about certain things. Don't just take an expert's opinion on something. We've been conditioned since birth. We've been programmed since birth to do certain things, to follow certain types of rules and stuff. And for you scientific folks, there is a clip I wanted to put in here for you of somebody that, you may not respect me, but I know for a fact you motherfuckers respect the shit out of this individual. Well, let me grab that pic here for you real quick, because, he says something very similar to what I just showed you right there inside the old Bible, right? Few are those who see with their own eyes and feel. Few are those who see with their own eyes and feel with their own hearts. Now, again, I'm not sure if he actually said this or somebody thought that was a cool thing and threw it on him. But in any event, this was something I stumbled on and thought, wow, isn't that relevant to this conversation, right? Now, proof that the messaging changes and that they are targeting and doing certain things to entice people to certain ideologies and certain belief systems, and getting people attached into different tribes. Because understand, somebody that might be a satanic person might not be a quote unquote bad person. They might be getting put into a tribe that resonates with them to help with the control mechanisms, right? Because I was sitting there, what was really interesting to me was shit like this. So I was like, what the fuck is this? And so here we see Kids Quick Reference Guide, and it's written in chalk, like on a chalkboard. And I'm like, what is this shit? It says a handy dandy visual guide to differences between the 2 most prominent modern satanic organizations that for some reason people keep mixing up. I was unaware that there were 2 different satanic groups. And look at the logos. You got the new one that's in light. It's white, right? It's like a positive version of the negative one, right? The Church of Satan and the Satanic Temple. And I just was blown away by this, because founding date of the Satanic Temple is 2013 versus 1966, which I was Anton Lebon, I think was the guy who was the one who did the original Church of Satan. I think that was in San Francisco. So anyway, look at this shit. They go through all of this stuff, right? And then I was dying when I got to, I was like, what the shit is, I started laughing my ass off. So after authoritarian, right? They're like, no, we're not authoritarian, but the stuffy old ones, they're very authoritarian. They're all about authority. And then look at this shit right here. Believes men who prefer blue cheese dressing must be homosexually inclined because the odor is reminiscent of a locker full of well-worn jock straps. And they put a check mark over there. I was like, are you fucking serious? They got jokes. They got jokes. So anyway, it's funny because we have around us all these different ideological beliefs, right? And those are tribes that people belong to. And then we have political divisiveness, right? Oh, you belong to this tribe, this tribe, this tribe. But the funniest thing that most people fail to take into consideration is before all of this shit, we all belong to one tribe already. It's the tribe of humanity. We're all human beings, right? And we all have very similar wants and desires. And so we see these other groups that will lay out different types of tenets and controllers and stuff and say, hey, this is how you should live your life. And a lot of those aren't bad. I just illustrated that. We just went through the evil ones, right? The darkest of the dark. We went through the Satanic and Luciferian, and we looked at their public-facing doctrine and basically was like, all right, well, that doesn't sound bad. You know, yeah, it doesn't, I don't see anything about sacrificing babies and killing and blah, blah, blah. Now, they may or they may not. I don't know. I personally have never witnessed any kind of a sacrifice, any kind of a ritual. Now, I've seen hundreds and hundreds of movies that have showed me that, just like I've seen hundreds and hundreds of movies of aliens. You know what would be really funny is, what if the guys that are against us, the ones that are really fucking us, what if they don't have any of these beliefs, right? We're just cattle to them, and it's not a good or evil in their mind, it's just logistics. Like, they are completely like Vulcans, devoid of emotion. They aren't quite human. Maybe they're subhuman or different else, and they created all these different things to make us stay at each other's throats and everything else, so that we don't realize and go, aha, it's those motherfuckers behind the curtain that's doing this shit to us. So it's really interesting because the world has various codes of conduct that if you look at them, and if people in those different ideological tribes follow them, even the opposing forces, well, they all have these respect for life. Okay, well, I'm not going to kill you. Well, fuck, I'm not going to kill you. Well, fuck, if we're not going to kill each other, then why are we scared of each other? Well, because you eat this at this time, and you dance at this time, and well, you sing this song. Well, okay, we got differences, but guess what? We're both human beings, and we're not really wanting to kill each other, so what's the fucking problem? I guess there is no problem. You see what I'm saying? So it's funny because you watch the box on TV, and they tell you straight up, be afraid. Be afraid. Be afraid. And a lot of people are. Alchemical Jack's birthday today. Can you give him a mention here? I'll make sure he sees it. Sure. Happy birthday, Alchemical Gamer. Happy birthday, brother. So, it's better to have some kind of a code of honor and then respect your fellow man than to be a codeless person that is just responding to the programming of the TVs, thereby being just a mindless robot or a mindless zombie. Don't be that zombie. Don't be the robot. Read a book. Open your mind. Do different shit throughout the day. Live your fucking life. I mean, shit. It's crazy. If we look at some of these, if we take a look at, like, Dalai Lama, there's a ton of people that respect Dalai Lama, right? Don't, Dalai Lama, listen to what he says. Open your arms to change, but don't let go of your values. Okay, so they're saying you can go to change, but don't give up who you basically are, right? Live a good, honorable life. So again, there's that fucking word honor, that when you get older and think back, you'll be able to enjoy it a second time. So let's define that. If you live a shitty-ass life, do you want to go back and think about all the times you fuck people over? Or do you want to look back and think about all the times that you've helped people, right? And again, the funny thing is, from a satanic point of view, that core concept right there, what he's talking about right here, falls into that satanic dogma. Because one of the things that they talk about, Satanists talk about, is, oh, well, human beings are selfish. When we help people, we like that because we feel good. So we're doing things to feel good. And I'm like, wow, that was clever. That was a clever interpretation. I had never heard that before. That's very interesting, though. In disagreements with loved ones, deal only with their current situation. Don't bring up the past. That's smart. That's smart. I don't know how many times I get in a fight with a wife or something, and right in the middle of a fight, I'm thinking about some shit from like maybe 10 years ago, and I'm like, no, don't bring that up. Why are you going to bring it up? That shit's in the past. Let it go. right? Share your knowledge is a way to achieve immortality. That's cool. Be gentle with the earth. I like that. Once a year, go someplace you've never been before. That's awesome too. Get some real life experiences. Go see the world. Remember, the best relationship is one in which your love for each other exceeds your need for each other. Wow, that's interesting. That one could be defined a little better, but whatever. Let's see. Approach love and cooking with reckless abandon. That's cute. That's cute. Now again, this is just a guy that's highly revered. He's a cult of personality. People like him, right? So if he says certain things and it's derivatives of certain other things, then people kind of look at that and go, "Oh, that's wise. That's smart, right?" We have that all in us, though. But you only get wise by what? By living life. Okay? You've been told the pot's hot. You're smart enough to say, "Well, my dad told me it's hot. I shouldn't touch it." And you put your hand near it, you can feel the heat. So you can kind of deduce there's some wisdom in what my dad's saying. But there's also a type of wisdom where somebody says, "Don't touch that pot, it's hot." And you grab that and you burn yourself and you got a scar on your fucking hand to remind you for the rest of your life. That was a bad decision to make. Okay, well, that was living life and learning from life, right? From living it, discerning things by experiencing it. In the long piece that Prepared Mind had put, he also brings up a very valid point of, if you look around yourself, all your established truths, everything that you in your mind have accepted as absolute truths, how much of that do you know as empirical fact that you have experienced yourself, right? There's certain things that I'm not telling you to go, "Well, they say if I go underwater and I breathe, I'm going to drown." Don't challenge those type of things because there's detrimental effects to it. You go underwater and you go, you drown, well, you're fucking dead. Okay, no, I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about, though, is all of these people that are saying all of these things to us, right? And they're saying these are truths. You have to take these as truths. Okay, fine. So they say the Earth, for example, is 8,000 miles or 4,000 something miles, right? So you might say to yourself, okay, well, I kind of say that's bullshit. How do they know exactly? Like, okay, I want to know. So now you start to research and you find out that some guy and this other guy, they did this stuff and blah, 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 based off of math. That's how they came up with the numbers. Like, okay, that makes more sense to me. Now you have a little bit more background information to substantiate somebody's fucking claim, right? But then when you have something that say, "Oh, this is going to do this and this is going to do this," you're like, okay, well, I don't see that here. Is my area immune to that or something? Like, why is there an anomalistic state that I'm in versus what everybody is saying is happening on the TV? Well, let me talk to some of these people that I know that might be in New York as an example and see what they're experiencing on the ground. When I talk to them, their experience is very similar to mine. And I'm like, okay, well, your experience is similar to mine and mine is different in yours to what these guys are saying. Let's talk to some other people. We talk to other people. Now they're all substantiating, nah, I ain't seen no fucking zombies. There ain't no fucking zombies here. There's no fucking, X disease or whatever that we're experiencing. Okay, wait, let's go back to New York because I'm looking at a newscaster right here that's saying there's like 7,000 of these things running down the street. Hey, New York, look out your window. You should be able to see 7,000 of these things running down the street. What do you see? Oh, I see something, but it looks like maybe 25 or 30, and there's a bunch of cameramen out front. Really? Okay. You get where I'm going with this? So a lot of times they will take stuff, blow it way up. And it's not just, embellishing and telling a story. It's creating an agenda. It's creating a narrative. It's creating some kind of a reality that they want you to believe. Oh, look, this group right here is dangerous because, look, they done set this stuff off. Well, the camera's rolling. They're done with the shoot. The guys take off their clothing and then the makeup or whatever else. And then if you see that, you're like, wait, that's not the same group of people that they're saying it is. So as a wise person in training, what you need to do is experience life and have your mind open and be able to accept things that you can prove is real and reject the things that, there's no way for you to prove if it's not detrimental. So if they tell you, for example, don't drink bleach, it's going to kill you, fine. You can lean against safety on that one and say, okay, I'm not going to do that. Because you can actually go and research and find stupid people that have injected bleach or drank bleach or whatever, and it was a very detrimental effect. So you can go, there's the proof in the pudding there, right? You can find the evidence to substantiate it. But when you take stuff like the Rona, where it does this, but then it doesn't do this. It affects cats, but doesn't affect cats. Now it's affecting cats. Now it does this. It does that. It doesn't affect children, but does affect children. It does this, but it doesn't do this. Stays in the air for several hours. No, it's only by droplets. Blah, blah, blah. When you get that kind of bullshit, that's when you say, okay, come on, guys. Come on. And the last thing I'll leave you guys with, just from a logical exercise, if you have a vaccine for something, okay, I'm not even going to say what it is, but you have a vaccine for something, okay, that thing. We have a thing that will stop this thing 95% of the time. Okay, so if this is going to stop this, then somehow this knows what the fuck this is. So if this can do this to this with 95% effectiveness, then why can't we do a test to detect this? Right now it's a 50-50. You have countries around the planet that have tested fruit and it's come back positive. Motherfucker tested a can of Coca-Cola, came back positive. So then why the fuck, if we can prevent this from spreading out or whatever, we know this vaccine is doing something against this with 95% effectiveness against this, why can't we detect it then with 100%? If we could do something to it, but we can't detect it, that sounds like bullshit to me. That's all I'm saying. So we need to figure out a way to reverse programming, get people thinking again, get people to follow a code of ethics so that we have the baseline of civilization and society again. And then at that baseline level, then people are more apt and open to finding their own path, to finding the right way, to finding their tribes while still respecting other tribes. Because right now, it's a fucking clusterfuck. You got tribes at each other's throats trying to go to war with each other for really dumb shit. And that's because they're all being controlled. And as long as they're being controlled and they're unaware that they're being controlled, then there's a problem. So the only thing I can suggest is that for us, the ones who are thinking still, we make sure that we don't suddenly get body snatched, right? We don't have invasion of body snatchers to us and we're going onto that bullshit, right? So read books, keep your mind fresh, change your patterns, and just know your enemy. I did that earlier and it was really interesting. You saw how really quickly people came on and started saying, Rob, are you a Satanist? Just because I had it up on the screen. You see how quick that happens? Oh, he's flashing flag colors of a certain group, so he must belong to that group. But I didn't. I wasn't. Basically, I was just understanding and looking at somebody else's point of view. And that's kind of what we need to do, not from a point of anger or a point of, oh, I want to destroy them or anything else, but more from empathy and understanding. And being able to look at them and say, you know what, your tenets are pretty good. Like, I dig, like, half of them, but the other ones I'm kind of like, what does that mean? So if a girl kind of goes, hi, is that sexually okay? And you can go gang rape her? Like, how does that work? You know? And as far as ownership, like, if it looks like I don't want my car, you could take my car from me? Is that what that means? So anyway, it's kind of interesting. But I just want you guys to see different things because we hear time and time again, oh, Luciferian. And I was like, well, what does that fucking mean? I know it means devil worship of some kind, but what specifically are we dealing with here? And then when I looked at it, I was like, that don't sound like the fucking marketing of the guys, like the evilest fuckers on the planet. And then if I stop and I pause and I think about it and I extrapolate it out, I'm like, well, actually, yeah, I could see that. But then they have point blank on there, yeah, do not harm children. It's like, well, you can't like rape and torture and all this other shit and then extract stuff from children without hurting them. So either that's a sub-faction, that's a different dark group that's doing it, or they're lying. And you can't lie because, come on now, we don't like lies. Lies are bad. All right, guys. That's it. I hope this was somewhat entertaining for you guys. I hope it was educational. I hope at the very least what this does is anybody that's also friends with Prepared Mind 101, go back and read his shit because Lord knows it's interesting. It's very interesting. And I know me, I'm going to try to change patterns and change some other stuff and disconnect and see if I spot any glitches in the Matrix, because I think he might be alluding to something like that. But in any event, be safe out there. If you like it, please subscribe. Tell your friends far wide. Until next time, motherfuckers, please be good to yourself, good to each other. Go out, live life to the fullest, ride the bus. What are you doing there? Ride the bus to the wheels fall off, have some adventures, get some scars and all that jazz. And I'll see you motherfuckers next motherfucking time. Later.